They say the dead should rest in peace. But what happens when the one who commands them refuses to let them? Our story begins with someone panicking as they enter the church, shouting that he's there, and telling a man that the place isn't safe anymore. He urges the man to escape. The man asks the panicking person who he's talking about. The person questions if the man hasn't heard the rumors circulating in Humite Street. He explains that they're talking about the lion slaughterer, vampire slayer, and the master of blue devils who's heading there with his undead. He also mentions that this person won't let the Dark Order escape and intends to kill them in the Cruise TV when they have the best Holy Knight Order with them. The person shaky tells him that the knights he's talking about have been turned into undead and are on their way. Meanwhile, our protagonist orders his undead knights to move, and they immediately head towards the church. The two men who are conversing are stunned to see the undead knights suddenly. The church's glass shatters, and the undead knights rush inside to attack them. The undead knights overpower one of the men and mercilessly slaughter the other, who pleads for mercy. The surviving man looks at our protagonist, wondering how this is possible when the undead monster ERS are supposed to serve them, the Necromancers. Our protagonist steps on the man's hand, and the man says that no matter how hard he tries to stop them, God will save them, granting them salvation. Our protagonist just points his gun at the man's head and informs him that he'll do it for him instead. The man feels divine power seeping into his skin and warns our protagonist that the blessing of God will lead him to hell. Then our protagonist fires a bullet from his gun. Before this, people in the kingdom had been whispering about how our protagonist had brought shame to the Holy Emperor's kingdom. They wondered how someone like him could be born in a kingdom ruled by the Holy Emperor. Many considered him the lowest of humankind with no morals. Someone else asks if they know what happened with the Archbishop, and proceeds to tell everyone about the incident where our protagonist harassed the Archbishop's daughter, getting himself into trouble. They think it would have been better if he had just accepted the punishment, but instead he trashed the Archbishop's room, driving the Holy Emperor to send him to the land of the dead spirits. The Emperor sent him there for reflection, but he engaged in questionable activities and even attempted suicide after being rejected by a girl. Fortunately, he survived, and the strange thing is he became a completely different person. He started working diligently at the monastery without causing any trouble. Everyone in town was intrigued by the sudden transformation, but others were suspicious because of this abrupt change. Later, a demon possessed his body due to blasphemy, and he made a contract with the demon people in the monastery, began to witness a walking corpse, leading to various rumors. Our protagonist then asked them what they thought about it. Meanwhile, an undead man looked at him and he gazed back at it. Our protagonist's name is Alan Allel, and he is 16 years old. He was once the exiled 7th prince, and his class is that of a necromancer. He wonders why the system keeps appearing randomly and mentions to the undead that he thinks there are rumors because some people have seen them walking. He's frustrated knowing that if this continues and he's wrongly accused of heresy, he doesn't know what to do. He realizes that he is not truly Alan Allel, but an average person in the Republic of Korea. However, he randomly inhabits the body of the Holy Emperor, his unpopular grandson, when his life is at risk. Like when he's hanging by a rope, he points to the status window on the undead men, explaining that he can see a status window and he possesses necromancer abilities. He uses these abilities to help himself as a graveyard keeper, but it's considered heresy in that world. At first he was confused, but he began to understand how to use his abilities. However, he still wondered if he should continue. He tells the zombies that they work well together by digging graves, burying the deceased, and placing gravestones on the finished tomb. This touches the zombies, but they are shocked when he suggests that it might be time to bid farewell. The zombies react with shock, pain, and anger upon hearing this, but he urges them to calm down and reminds the angry one to watch his language. He explains that he had a complicated first life, but is trying to live his second life more peacefully. He expresses that he'll think more about it since he's grown close to them, and asks if they are okay with that. To which they raise their thumbs in agreement. He instructs them to start working. A moment later, two men appear in the graveyard. One of them asks his comp companion if he heard something, but his companion tells him to be quiet and keep moving, if he doesn't want to end up like those undead. He adds that they should hurry and go to the prince to ask for help with that cursed village. The man asks his companion if those are the last of the corpses, and his companion replies affirmatively, stating that it seems like those are the only ones left. The man observes that everyone has fled, leaving the place filled with corpses. He apologetically asks Alan if he can also come to the village, which leaves Alan confused. Alan asks why, and the man explains that the entire village has nearly been wiped out and he believes they would be safe with Alan. The other man adds that they believe they're safe because they've been frequently around Alan while moving corpses, but he knows he doesn't possess such power. Nevertheless, the two men hug Alan, begging him to let them stay by his side as they believe they would be safe with him. Alan thinks there must be a misunderstanding and wonders what they expect him to do. A few minutes later, they arrive at the village, and Alan notices that it's quite frightening. One of the men, who is nervously clinging to him, warns him that the waterworks have stopped, resulting in many deep-water pools, and advises him to be careful. Alan, annoyed, tells them to get off of him. The man insists that they should always carry charms on their bodies, causing Alan to angrily ask if they consider him a charm, as they proceed to walk. Alan advises them that if he were in their shoes, he'd use his time to search in another house.